let's just go ahead and learn all about what you've been doing this year.
Well, hello, everyone. I think I know everyone here, but I am Todd Carter, the Director of Development for Hospitality House of Northwest North Carolina. It has been a very interesting year. March 13th, 2020 is my new 9/11. I will never forget where I was, huddled in Tina, our executive director's office, with our facilities manager on a conference call with Jennifer Green and the app healthcare team about what was to come next. And from that date until Mother's Day, which I believe was May 10th, Tina and I worked 7 straight days to try and get everything together. I liken it to trying to build a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's exactly what it felt like. Every 2 days, it was a new protocol. We were doing something, buying something, switching gears, trying to keep people safe. And thank goodness, someone said we had a shield of prayer around us, because we never had a positive case from a client here. Not one. And most of our protocols that we were enacting initially along the road were predicated because most of our positive cases were coming from student volunteers. So that's why we had to shut our volunteer program down. And unfortunately, we had to make some significant changes to our mission while continuing to operate all of our programs. So we've not shuttered one single program. We have just adapted and expanded. So what that means is, even though we had to shut down our serving line and volunteer groups could no longer come in to cook and serve, we created a restaurant list that volunteer groups could purchase from, that could have food delivered, or they could deliver food to our table outside. And we just had to package everything in individual takeout containers and serve everything in those containers with disposable cups, bottled water, disposable cutlery. Our food costs increased 196%. Because we were having to deliver it in these ways. No longer at breakfast could we put out a box of cereal and a gallon of milk. We had to purchase individual cereals, individual milks, individual orange juice. We had to purchase individual teeny tiny packets of salt and pepper and ketchup and everything you can think of, grape jelly, butter, maple syrup, everything had to be those individual packets. So, and that burden continues, and we're very fortunate that we had so many of our fantastic donors step up and help us fill that gap and meet that need. We did more food boxes out of our pantry in 6 months than we normally do in a year. So that was a big impact. We currently are still only limiting access to our primary building to residents, staff, and interns. And our incoming interns from Appalachian State will have to be vaccinated in order to do their internship. In doing that, we pivoted our meals to people who aren't living here. We've pivoted to our front porch. And this past weekend, I just worked with a volunteer group from Regeneration Church. We've expanded our front porch with a nice stone front porch, and we're going to be creating a space where people can come and get food any time of the day. No longer do they have to be here during breakfast, during lunch, during dinner hours. They can walk up any time of the day and get a meal, get a hot meal and a drink and hot coffee. So we still did we did more meals this year, even though our doors were closed. We were still able to move 119 people into housing this year, and 52% of those were children. So at the end of the day, our mission is getting people into their own homes. So some and most would say, oh, we're a shelter, but we're really not a shelter. We're a housing agency. We have 8 different housing programs now. And we we also have 16 other properties in addition to the one here that most people are familiar with. So we lease up houses, apartments, and duplexes in Wilkes County and Watauga County, soon to be Ashe County. And we take our mission seriously as the working to end homelessness in our 7-county region. We cover a 2,500 square mile radius. And to put that in context, if you were to take that and stretch it end to end, it's longer than the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. That's how big our territory is. And our 7 counties has one of the highest rates of unsheltered homeless families in rural America. So it is definitely a focus of what we're trying to do, in addition to meeting those immediate needs for people when it comes to food and crisis and shelter. Ultimately, we want to get people housed. One good thing that happened, people will say, how did it go this year? I say, well, we were very stressed, but we were very blessed. We were stressed and blessed. We were able to get a federal grant from the U.S. Treasury to expand our sleeping area here, because we weren't going to be able to sleep as many people here during COVID. So we got a grant to buy another building, and we purchased it outright. So we converted our offices here into bedrooms and our conference room into bedrooms. And so we moved our administrative offices and our mental health offices and our weekend office and our homeless prevention office and our outreach office. We now own that building between Hatchet Coffee and Center 45. And we are thrilled to have that space. Our conference room is up there now, and allowing us to work safely, distanced from everyone. And we now have a capacity here at our primary facility to safely house 110 people year round. So that was an increase of about 30. Okay, so now I want to take questions, because I don't like to just babble all the time. I wanted to answer questions that what interests you.
So are you handling the HUD program now, or how are you renting housing?
So we work with the Northwest Regional Housing Agency to get our clients with HUD vouchers and housing vouchers, but we also rent properties now. So if a landlord says, I am so tired of being the landlord, can I lease the hospitality house? And we're say, yep. And so we move an individual, a family directly into their own home, and then we provide them case management for as long as they need it. That's forever. That's what it is. And that really helps with our region. You know, in Wilkes a few years ago, we were able to move a family of 6 from a tent in the woods directly into their own 3-bedroom, 2-bath duplex. They never had to come into a shelter setting. And with our new street outreach program and our homeless prevention diversion program and our rapid rehousing program, these are funds that are available to where we can immediately house people. So we work with landlords, whether that's locating an apartment and then we pay all their rent, deposit, utility for 6 months to get them stable, or we bring them into our permanent supportive housing or scattered site housing program. It just depends on the case. Depends on the household that we're housing. So we have so many different variations of housing programs that it's almost to the point now where we can find a fit for you if we can find a property for you. Honestly, our biggest challenge is finding property. We got very, very fortunate in Wilkes County that one of our donors who owns a lot of rental properties just said, I am so tired of being a landlord. Can I just rent all my properties to you? And then we work with a foundation down there, the Health Foundation, that has a building with apartments. And so they're helping us fund that. Once we get our administrative building up and running here, we'll be opening a resource center down in Wilkes County. Because we have a high percentage of a homeless population is in Wilkes County. And they have a home down there this past year that wasn't being managed that well. And so HUD came to us and said, can you take over this house of where 7 people live? And we said, sure. So our footprint down there continues to grow.
And so you'll do all the painting between residents and replacing doors that have had a fist put through them and
yeah, for the most part. And that really hasn't been an issue. And the landlord still, the owner still has to do like septic stuff and, you know, the bigger stuff. But the fixing up and the, you know, refurbishing, that's not to date been really an issue yet. We have, like in Wilkes, we have a group of church volunteers and teams that just love to say, okay, we got a new place, we're going to spruce it up, and they buy furniture and they really, some of them mow the lawns at the properties, just to be involved in what we're doing.
So Todd, did these properties, usually when you're putting a family in a place like this, is it usually furnished already?
It depends. So it's usually not. We usually rely on volunteer groups. The house that we own across the street from Brook Hollow on Greenbrier has a giant basement. So we keep donated beds, that kind of thing in there. So when people move out, or sometimes we'll just have to put a call out to say, hey, if anyone's got furniture, we're looking to furnish a new apartment for someone.
How are you paying for this? You mentioned that you got a federal grant for the other expansion, but is this through donations, or how are you paying for all these different properties and rentals and such?
So it's a combination of, because it's an actual federal program called Permanent Supportive Housing. So the money that we apply for each year through HUD, and then they award us based on our outcomes, and they award us based on the number of people that we're able to house. So the more people we're able to house, the more funds we're eligible for. So so that's the real housing piece. Folks that are on a Section 8 HUD voucher, or folks that are on disability, some of them, they pay a small portion of their rent in our permanent supportive housing, because so the landlord will lease to us, well, we will lease to them so they can take ownership in the property. And so they'll pay a portion, and we're talking about like 10%, not a lot, but that way there's an ownership agreement, but they're still getting case staffing on a weekly basis. So, and we have people eventually move out of this program. We have some people that will live there for the rest of their lives, and it's whatever they need is what we're going to provide.
And does that amount that they pay increase over time?
No, because their disability doesn't really increase. Now, some people have been able to effectively, like we have a gentleman on our board right now. He went through all of our programs, and he effectively moved out, is not in our programs, is now on our board of directors. He no longer needed to be in that assisted housing, scattered site housing. So we moved someone else into that unit. He got his own place and has steady income and didn't need to be in the program anymore.
How do you measure success, Dad?
That is very individual. So I call it personal victory. So I get excited about personal victories, and some people's personal victory will be they're here. There we had a lady that she's in one of our videos. She just stopped by today to say hello. She had faced domestic violence, a heart attack, lost her job. She just needed 6 good stable months of support to be able to move out on her own. And some people, they'll live with us for the rest of their life. Like we have a guy that I've known since I started here almost 10 years ago. He used to live on his own. He actually used to live over in Ashe County. He is developmentally delayed, but he had his issue was he was too nice. So we would get him in his own place, and he would inevitably let someone move in with him, which you're not allowed to do because he felt bad because they were living outside. And then he would lose his housing. And we did that 3 times. And I've watched him go from this guy would pass driving on the road in this car that used to bounce because the shocks were not that great and just smiling, to now he lives here in one of our apartments on site here at Brook Hollow, and he'll be here forever. And he makes me laugh so much. So that's his personal victory. The 119 people who moved out, 52% of them being children, that's their personal victory. Those of you who've been here, you know Richard, you've probably gotten a necklace. So he came to us after living in a barn in Ashe County. He's had 2 traumatic brain injuries. He's now he's moved from our building here over to our Rock Haven. So he has his own little efficiency apartment in our home that's got 8 efficiency apartments, and he takes care of our chickens. He mows the grass, he weed eats. He walks over here every day to feed the chickens. Right now he's out there digging out our new area for the food pantry patio, and he'll live here for the rest of his life. And that's his personal victory. And he's really proud that he's made 8,000 necklaces and gives them out to every single person who has been coming here for the past 7 years.
Got one of those and I gave it to my granddaughter. It's cute.
Yeah, I'll show you. He just made me another one. And so he knows my favorite color.
Do you have any mobile homes?
We do not. We sometimes are able to find clients that can get a HUD voucher moving a mobile home, but we only rent apartments, homes, or duplexes. Economically, renting a trailer, a mobile home.
Are you there?
Yeah, I think we lost you, Todd.
Oh,
You
No.
said economically renting a trailer.
renting a mobile home doesn't make sense because of the energy and the bills and the stuff that it takes. I mean, it's just it's horrific. Some of the, some of the places that people live in that they shouldn't be living in.
Huh.
Todd, I have a question for you.
Sure. Hey, John, I see you peeking out back there.
Yeah, somehow I'm showing up from the background.
God of fire.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a on fire. That's the type of guy. Anyway, Todd, my question. I was talking to a friend last night who has a bunch of rentals in Mount Airy. I'm not sure where, but she said that something has gone on with Section 8, that they're not being subsidized like they were. And she lost a number of her, she had a lot of subsidized families, or I don't know if it was just couples or what, in her housing. that all had to move out very recently. I don't know what's going on, you know, and it occurred to me when we were talking that this must make it very difficult for that clientele to now find suitable housing if there's been some reduction in the monies for Section 8 housing. Do you know, can you expound on that? You seem a little surprised.
I don't know about that. I mean, all I know is that, you know, the voucher will not pay, you know, it's a certain percentage below fair market housing. So that's why some landlords like, nope, I'm not doing that, because I want to get, especially here in a tourist town, everyone wants to get their full benefit. So I'm not aware of that. We've actually, now our HUD office, our Section 8 office, Northwest Regional Housing, that covers our 7 counties, they didn't close. We continued operating, and a lot of agencies across the state, and they stopped issuing vouchers. And there may be some sort of kind of like, we've got to catch up or something, but we kept operating throughout the pandemic. And that's one of the reasons why we were so successful in moving 119 people out into their own homes, is we still had that available. Now, Kim and everyone, they were working remotely, but we were still having our monthly meetings and connecting clients to those financial resources.
Okay, well, that's, you know, as I say, I only know that she said something about, and it could be a lapse in there, you know, in just what you're saying, a bit of a delay or a further reduction that made it impossible to, you know, make it equitable for her. I don't know, but that was something that occurred to me.
And I do know that each entity within, so ours only relates to our 7 counties.
Yeah.
And the Northwest Housing. So it could be an issue with their housing agency, with their COC. And it also helps that we're the lead agency for our continuum of care. So quick education, since you're lifelong learners, the COC, continuum of care, the state council of governments divided up the state into continuums of care. So if you were in Asheville, all this federal funding is managed by the city of Asheville for Buncombe County. If you're in Mecklenburg County, all that funding is managed by the city of Charlotte. Same for Greensboro, Raleigh. So when that was all being decided back in 2005, it was like, well, nobody really wanted to do it. So it just left Hospitality House to do it. So we're an agency running this COC program, where most COCs are operated by municipalities. That's both good and bad. We get the least amount of money of any COC, even though we have the largest amount of land mass and the poorest populations. We get the least amount of money, but that's changing because we keep pushing these programs. So and actually the last state call last month, the state conference, they recognized Hospitality House as the leading agency doing the most with COVID funds, and said everyone needs to pay attention to what they're doing because they're doing it right.
Well, good.
So we're starting to change their perception, because everything is that Eastern mentality. All the offices are down there, and no one really paid attention to what rural homelessness looked like. It looks completely different. And even when the former directors of the state office would come down here and they would say, well, you can't do it this way. You can't have all these programs under one roof. And Tina would say, well, you don't know our clientele, and you don't know our people. We're doing what's best for our people. And so they're starting to wake up, because we're having some really good outcomes, and they're starting to say, we better pay attention to these mountain folks down here, because they kind of know what they're doing.
Great.
Well, Todd, go ahead.
Question, how many, do you feed all the people that are not in your houses, or just the ones that are in the one facility in Boone?
We feed anybody who's hungry. So
Okay.
we served about an average of 11,500 meals last month. And then our service coordinators actually pack up food boxes. This has been something new because of COVID. We've driven food boxes down to our Wilkes County clients. So we provide food for anyone who needs it. And so we have several older folks with disabilities. And so we deliver food boxes to them every week. We bring them prepared meals. And that goes out of our pantry. And then we serve meals on our front porch because of COVID to anyone who's hungry. Anyone can walk up and get a meal. And unfortunately, we're just having to serve it all in takeout containers with bottled water and disposable cutlery because of COVID. And by the way, that's not going to change this year. We're not going to be making any changes to that. We're just trying to make it better and more dignified.
Do you dip into the weekend money, or does that get used by people not connected with you?
So Weekend is one of our programs, and so if you think of Hospitality House, you think about housing, hunger relief, crisis assistance, and now homeless prevention. We have an official homeless prevention program. From before, Weekend kind of served as our de facto homeless prevention, but not to the point of we could actually go in and pay someone's arrears to say, yes, we're going to pay your $1,000 that you're behind on your rent so you don't get evicted. We didn't have that flexibility with the Weekend because we didn't have that much money in the program. So Weekend is one of our programs that will still continue to operate as heating, fuel, utility. I mean, we did probably, I should have my sheet here with me. $200,000 in assistance this past year. Now that includes, we manage the funds for Blue Ridge Energies and New River Light and Power. So one of the easiest ways for people to help Weekend is to round up your power bill. And then when that happens, it's like, okay, well, so-and-so is behind on their power bill. And again, that's been different because of moratoriums on utilities and stuff with COVID. But it's like, okay, Weekend will pitch in 75, and then we'll pull 75 from the Operation Roundup, and this will get you called up. And that program is now located at our new building on 160 Denmac Drive. So people needing assistance no longer have to come into a congregate setting to get assistance. They walk into a professional office building.
Todd, you mentioned the rounding up your bill. What are the things that that people can give other than money to Hospitality House that are always useful?
So on our website, we have our wish list, and that list is there to access. Either you can order from Amazon or you can buy it and drop it off. And I try and keep it updated with things. The things that we always need are, well, I was just having this conversation, like we always need
Razors and soap.
razors and soap and shampoo and pain reliever. The things that we don't need, for some reason, we have about a volcano's worth of toothpaste. We don't ever need toothpaste. I can't imagine needing toothpaste in the foreseeable decade.
How about towels? Can you use towels?
We can always use towels. We can always use sheets. And we don't need socks anymore. I've got us hooked up with 3 different sock manufacturers. So we get regular brand new socks all the time. Because I know that's a big thing that's out there, like homeless shelters need socks. So we've got that covered now. And so for some reason, we also have a ton of pads, feminine hygiene products, but no tampons. So I had to go on a tampon-a-palooza for a while and get tampons because we only had pads for some reason. so the website and the wish list is a good place to go, but the towels, sheets, and before COVID, we would take your, if you're getting new china or getting rid of your silverware, your kitchen or stuff, we take that, but we don't take that now because of COVID, because everything has to be disposable. And the irony of it is we had just installed a new dishwasher when COVID hit.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, one day you'll be able to get back to it.
we'll get back. Yeah.
With your sheets, do you prefer single sheets or doubles or both?
Twins and doubles.
Okay,
Twins and
doubles and
doubles.
twins.
Todd,
If you
what-
if
Oh.
if you feed everybody who is hungry, how do you know how much to cook?
Well, we've kind of got it down to, a system of we kind of know the seasons too. This winter we have more people living outside than I think we've ever had. And so we start around 120 meals but now that we're going to move to this all day service that we're proposing, we're going to get to, we always need food. We can always use food, and we always if we don't have it, we won't serve it. But we do a good job with our church groups and civic groups that bring in food. A lot of them bring extra, so we're able to make up plates. We're able to purchase from Second Harvest. For every $1 that's donated to our food program, we're able to purchase $5 worth of food from Second Harvest. And now that it's growing season, we are growing our own food, and we're in conjunction with Hunger Coalition and Grow Watauga. We've got these really exciting opportunities that are coming up too, that we're going to expand our food program out into Western Watauga, and we're going to have food lockers set up at Bethel School, and it's the first of its kind in the state and only the second in the nation.
Wow.
So it's taken us a while to get there. So even throughout COVID, we've been working on this plan with Hunger Coalition and Second Harvest and the school system. And so between us, we've cobbled together about $250,000 to make this project work. So folks won't have to drive to Boone and spend 45 minutes worth of gas to get food. We'll be delivering it to their food locker, and we'll text them a code, and then they'll go pick it up each week. And we're starting out with the Meals on Wheels clients and the Project on Aging clients. We'll be delivering to that first, and then Hunger Coalition is going to deliver to their door if they need it, or if they need the locker. So call it the Watauga Food Distribution Network, and we are really excited about this program. That if it goes as well as we think it's going to go in Bethel, then it will be going to all the pockets of Watauga County, and then Second Harvest is going to launch it all throughout their 18 counties to be able to get to underserved communities and give them access to healthy food that we grow. We'll be purchasing hot meals from Farm Cafe and delivering them to the lockers. We'll be purchasing produce from local farms. So we're keeping it all in the system of where we're able to support our own economic interests in Watauga County.
Right.
Can you explain or describe the lockers a little bit more? It's not one kind of locker, right? Is it individual lockers?
Individual lockers. So do any of you shop at Harris Teeter?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Right when you walk in, those big green blocks. It's very much like that. Individual lockers. And let's see here. So here's a mock-up. Here's a mock-up they did for me. I'll see if you can see that. A mock-up they did for us outside of Bethel School.
How big is each box?
It's bigger. You can fit more than a big banana box in there, and they're all refrigeration controlled. And
Wow.
so if, let's say, we get a giant thing of meat and frozen meat from Tyson, we can make all those frozen lockers, and we can text people and say, hey, we've got all this meat. Here's your code, go pick it up. And then we can turn them into refrigerated lockers. So if someone's getting refrigeration, dry goods, and frozen in one order, they'll get 3 lockers,
Wow.
and their code will open all 3 of them. And it's a company out of Durham. These are lockers are made in the United States, and they're a Durham, North Carolina based company. So we're keeping as much of this local and supporting our own North Carolina economy as possible.
Do you get food from any of the grocery stores that maybe day-old bread and things like that?
We do. So one of the things that Second Harvest does, they across the state, Second Harvest Food Line partners with all the Second Harvest agencies across the state. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, St. Mary's and Blowing Rock picks up the food, the about to expire food from the Food Line in Blowing Rock. On Saturdays and Sundays, we go pick up the food in Deep Gap and Boone Food Line. We have an individual who goes around to Lowe's and Harris Teeter once a week and picks up from there. And then St. Elizabeth's is the connection with Publix, so they bring all their bread to us on the weekends.
Well, I've
Todd,
been-
tell me, I'm constantly coming up against this, I don't know what, moral dilemma. Should I buy food that I donate, or should I give the money so that you can get $5 out of it?
It really is whatever you like. I mean, like one day in the beginning of the pandemic, they had cereal on sale for $1.15 a box. So I bought an entire bucket full, a giant cart full of Ingles. And I was afraid that somebody was going to see me thinking I was a hoarder, a COVID hoarder. And I said, no, I'm just taking this to the food pantry. I'm not, because people are looking at me like, what's he doing? He's buying all the closeout cereal. So that was a good deal, but versus spending $1.29 on a can of peas when we can get it for like 10 cents, maybe not a good deal. But it really is whatever you're most comfortable with. That's the biggest thing.
How about furniture? If you have people sit at home, do you have any need for furniture?
Karen, I've lost you there for a minute. I think you asked about furniture.
Yeah.
So we do at our house across the street, we do have a basement that we store furniture and for people when they're moving out. And sometimes we just put the call out. Like recently we had a family moving out and someone happened to call. So I was just able to connect them and the people just brought the furniture right to the apartment and dropped it off. So it's a fluctuating need depending on who's moving out and when. We almost always say yes to beds and mattresses, and we store those downstairs. And if it can be a situation, we do now have a passenger van. Thank you, COVID. We're able to buy a new van. So we do have the capability to do pickups where we've not been able to do that in the past. We still don't have a big program like Habitat for Humanity where they'll come and load up a box truck, but for individual needs, we do have that availability now.
So you don't have a limitation on mattresses like other organizations do, that you can't accept them. You can do that.
Yeah, we can accept them, and the limitation is you can't resell a mattress. That's why the restores but we keep them and we store them. So when people move out, we can at least get them a mattress. And actually, I've got a really cute story. We had a lady call. She was raising her grandson and she had called and he was getting ready to move in and you could tell she had some health problems, but she was raising her grandson and I took him over to the basement and he got to pick out his own mattress and for this double bed, and he got the biggest, fluffiest pillow top and he jumped on it like that. And this is just somebody who had called weekend asking for help. And so that was a good day for me to get over and see that boy jump on that mattress. And he was so happy. And so, yeah, it was good.
Pillows and things like that are like needed too, I presume.
Yes, pillows, sheets, towels, washcloths, those type things.
Todd, are you going to be in your office tomorrow? And if so, what time?
So let me see here. I will be I'll be available from like 10 to 1, and then we have our WCCI conference. The first day is tomorrow from 1 to 4. So I'll be up at Denmac from 1 to 4 doing the conference virtually.
Where will you be at 10? Will you be down at Hospitality House or at Denmark?
I'll be at Hospitality House at 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a question about, I wondered about how many people that are homeless and maybe they have tents somewhere, do the resources cover? Do you have the resources for most of those people or part of those people, or how does that work?
We do now that we have an official street outreach. They call it street outreach. It's more like mountain outreach and woods outreach here. So we have an official street outreach coordinator, and he is now able to go where they are versus having to get people here, which is incredibly helpful. Now that he can now go to Mitchell County for the day and partner with, a food pantry there. And they say, okay, well, let me take you to this bridge. This is where people live. So we're able to go and connect with those folks that are living in tents so that we can begin to build, not only provide resources, but build trust. So many people, well, to the person, every single person that has walked through our doors, our number one challenge is trust. They don't trust anybody. Why would they? And so our values and how we are, it's not about do the ABC 1, 2, 3, poof, you're not homeless. It's about, let's get to know you. Let's figure out what your barriers are, what your challenges are, and building that trust so that eventually they can come in to start get services, that they feel comfortable. They know that we're not chicken in church. And I'll explain that because I had one of the guys that used to live here. He came from Greensboro and he grew up down in that area. And he said, you can always tell the ones that come, it's chicken church. Like they'll give you chicken, but only if you come to church. They're not going to help you otherwise. So that has always stuck with me, that there's this inherent distrust, because so many times the people that we're led to serve, we do it not for selfish reasons. We don't do it to feel good. We do it because there's a need. And so many times that's not their experience. I remember a time I had a lady call me from Ashe County, and she wanted to come and do a revival. And I said, well, can't really do a revival here, but I can let you come, and it can't be during mealtime. That's a violation of our non-discrimination ordinance that we have to sign with Second Harvest. And I said, but here's what I want you to come. I want you to come and do a dinner. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to come like 2 or 3 Sundays before your event, so that people get to see your face and they get to know you. Because I want you to have a successful event. They were going to play music and it was going to be really great. And so I said, okay, this is how we can do this. So you can't do an altar call, but music, fellowship, worship, all that's good. Well, they never showed up except on the date. They had a horrible turnout.
Yeah.
She was upset with me. And I said, well, I don't want to tell you. I'd like for you to try again. She said, well, I think we saved a couple souls today. And I never heard from her again.
Yeah.
So
Let me
that
ask him.
that was
Yeah.
her focus, was saving souls, and wasn't really interested in how to connect to get those results. It was all about her and not about our folks. And unfortunately, that's a lot of their experience. So that's why the trust is so huge in what we do.
What about healthcare issues, or what if one of your clients dies unexpectedly? How do you deal with that?
Karen, you are on point. You are on point. So, we've not had any COVID cases this year, but death has come in a lot of different ways, particularly the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks. We had a client die on site in late February, early March. It was pretty traumatic for the staff that found him. He lived in one of our apartments in the back. I had a fresh batch of interns that had never seen, they saw a body bag. And so we had to go and I took all the interns up to our new building and we did a debrief, and it was a very hard scene, very, very difficult scene. Not soon after, the young man the man they found in the river, that was one of our guys that they found dead in the river. We had another client. She had been ill, but she was an older client living in an apartment. Literally a week later, they walk in and found her dead, and she had been deceased for about 6 days. And then just Sunday, one of our mothers that lives in a house by the high school, she was found deceased in her bed. So she leaves behind 2 teenagers, a kindergartner and a 4th grader. So we are purposely, we're expanding that third part of our DenMac building is going to be our homeless health initiative. So we got money from the CDBG grant. We're going to hire a second mental health therapist. And Marion Peters, some of you probably know her, who used to be the director of the community care clinic. We used to do an on-site medical clinic here every Monday, and it was at first in conjunction with community care clinic, and then our funding ran out, and so then Marion kept coming, and she would bring a massage table and set up in someone's office. Now we have an actual doctor's office in our building, an actual exam room, and she has an office, and we're going to be able to deal with those chronic and yet acute needs that people present with. I'm sure it's no surprise to any of y'all that there's the access to mental health is terrible, and the access to healthcare. Community care clinic can't keep up. There's so many people because we've not expanded Medicaid in the state, and the need is just tremendous. So even with community care clinic and high country community health, we're not able to get immediate attention and help for our clients with their chronic illness. So that's why we're expanding that portion. And don't get me started about the emergency room, and how they're treated there. So we have clients that fall out here and refuse to get in the ambulance because they know how they're going to be treated. So we're taking care of our own, and we're the people that they trust. So, and the thing that I'm really excited about this new building, for the first time ever, some of our folks are going into an actual doctor's office. So this is part of their trust that they're going to be in a professional setting, not in an office in the back hallway on a massage table. They're going to a doctor's office, and they're going to start feeling more comfortable about going to a doctor's office and a professional setting, because so many of our folks don't think they even deserve that.
Yeah. Do you have doctors who donate their time?
Marion Peters right now is she's the one, and she keeps coming. She's working for Daymark now, and she leaves work and comes to do clinic with us 1 day a week from 5 to 7. And we're hoping to be able to expand that to another day. We'll see how it goes. It's a lot for one person, but we're looking for funding right now that she would be able to have a LabCorp services, so we could be a pickup spot for LabCorp. We just have to find the funding to do that. So we're writing a lot of grants right now, and looking to expand that homeless health initiative, because at the end of the day, if we're able to do that, it's going to increase our housing outcomes too. It's going to be more likely we're going to be able to get more people stably housed in a healthy way.
And you still have the pharmaceutical bus that goes around and delivers medications to people who need them?
No, but Hunger Coalition still has their pharmacy.
Okay.
And so we get most of everything filled over there next door. But then that's something else that WeCan does. We have it built in the WeCan budget to pay for prescription medications that other folks can't afford, even if you don't live here.
Mm,
We can help pay your prescription medication.
wow.
And that part of our line, I'm sure Lori remembers when she was on the board, that part of our line item of our budget kept getting bigger and bigger because we were paying more and more prescriptions, because more and more prescriptions became not available for free pharmacies like Hunger Coalition.
Yeah. Mm.
And how would you write a grant for LabCorp? Because you don't, I mean, each test carries its own cost, and you don't know what the tests are going to be over the next year. And
Marion has a pretty good idea of what the needs are and what those costs are. And we have connected with a really fantastic foundation called the Ferris Foundation that's exclusively focused on behavioral health and healthcare for our population.
so how big of a grant are you trying, how much money are you trying to get for that LabCorp?
I think it's around $22,000, I think.
22,000 for 1 year.
I think so, yeah.
Huh. I wonder if you could do a GoFundMe.
And we have a really good partner in the Health Foundation and down in Wilkes. And so with so high percentage of folks that we wind up bringing up here are from Wilkes County. And so we're looking to, like I said, open a resource center down there and expand our footprint down there. So we're able to move folks into housing, but we'll see what we come up with. It's just the next step. And like we usually do, we'll cobble it together from somewhere. If we can't get it in one fell swoop, we'll piece it together and make it work.
Mm.
What's the Medicaid situation in our state?
Horrific. I'm really hoping they get off their duff and expand it this time. Every time I listened to Dr. Cohen through COVID, she would always say, we have got to expand. We are in a pandemic. Please, we have got to expand Medicaid. But
Not yet.
it's up to the General Assembly.
And just to clarify, Marion Peters is not giving massages. She's using that for an exam table, right?
She was, until we got her a proper exam table now. So she has a full-on exam room now. So she's no longer having to lug her stuff in the door and come to the back office. We have a proper space for her.
Mm. And do you have more than one grant writer?
So we have Shane as our director of grant funding. And so the way we work, the four of us, our executive team here, it's Tina, our executive director, myself, the chief development director, Shane, the director of grant funding, and our soon to be brand new director of finance, Mary Goodnight, who starts on Monday, the 26th. we kind of steer the ship from here. Like I'm working on a grant right now. More of the smaller ones. Tina and Shane are focused on like the ginormous federal grants, but even for like the big grant we got for the building, and the COVID grants, we all worked on those together as a team to make sure we were, and it's a heavy burden. Like one of our grant requisitions for this past time was over 1,000 pages that we had to submit to the government in order to get our funding reimbursed. So it does take all of us to get it done.
Well, we certainly appreciate having you and everybody on your staff to handle the people that need it in our area. Thank you.
No, absolutely, Karen. I'm grateful for opportunities like this just to get to, Lori knows I don't mind talking. So,
Yeah. Well, are there any other questions, or if not, we can.
Todd,
yes.
John and I are going to stop by and see you tomorrow, first thing around 10.
Okay. I'll be here.
I got a couple things to make your day.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And I hope to see you at the last 3 events that we've got this month.
Can you remind me of those again? I want to write it down because in case I want to pop in on that last.
Tomorrow is the 3rd session on race in America by Linda Jensen. And then next Monday at 10:30, Jeff Boyer talking about why Hondurans are coming to Watauga County.
Yeah, okay.
And then the plant sale, you bring your plants over on Friday afternoon, the 30th, and the plant sale will be May 1st. And like I said, Todd, I could come over there on Friday morning and pick up plants if you wanted me to do that.
I will let you know. I'll get with Claire and let you know what we got.
Okay.
Love to help out.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Todd.
Thank you. Good to see y'all. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.